So let's get started on the chocolate mousse pie. And I'm going to make it into a pie because you can make it just into like a pudding like dessert, just like a mousse. But because of the holidays coming up with celebrating more holidays, Christmas, whatever you celebrate, there's always a reason to bring a dessert. So I thought, let's make this into a dessert, more of something that you could take with you. So I've got my trusty food processor back here, and I'm just going to throw these pecans in here and crush them up. This will just take a minute. Oops. It would help if I plugged in the food processor, wouldn't it? The things I normally do before I start a video. So here we go. I'll get a bowl. Okay, it's that quick. That's why it's good to have a good food processor. If you have a good food processor, things go fast, and this is the Vitamix. You get the blender, and then the food processor is an attachment. So you have both the blender and the food processor. I think that's pretty handy. So I like it. Okay, so get all those crumbs in there. And then the only other thing to add to this to form our crust is very simple: 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So there's not much to it other than maple syrup and pecans. So it's very easy. And I'm using the Oliver pecans. I've talked about them before. I noticed it was funny. They shared my recipe videos on their page, and they said, "Oh, Chef Julia uses Oliver pecans." So I wasn't trying to promote their pecans especially, but I do get their pecans from San Saba, Texas. And they have a shop, they have an orchard. Their pecans are so good. You can order them online. Highly recommend. So I'm going to use this spatula again for my other stuff. So I don't want to use it right now. I'm just going to use a spoon to mix this pecan mixture up. Hi, Carol. So what I'm doing is I'm making a crust for the chocolate mousse pie. And it's just a crust. This is kind of a dumb thing to use for mixing, isn't it? Vanessa's on because it's getting stuck in this silly spoon. So I'm going to use a bigger spoon. That will work better. So I am excited about this recipe. I'm taking this chocolate pie to a meeting with my friends later today. It's a board meeting, and it's at a restaurant that my friend owns. And I usually bring some refreshments to our meeting. It's a chef's association meeting. So I'm just going to put these. It's just pecans that I turned into crumbs in the food processor. You saw me. It took, all of 20 seconds. So this is a very quick recipe. And then to those crushed pecans, I just added 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So all we have here is we have a pecan crust, and I'm just, kind of mashing it down in the pie plate. So this is one of those things for people that, you put it down where you can see better. The people that don't want complicated desserts. I get this a lot from people. They say, well, I don't want to make something that has 20 ingredients. I want to make something simple. Well, this dessert has 1, 2, 3, 4 ingredients, and then the crust is 2 ingredients. So 6 ingredients? And then you have a delicious dessert, and it's quick. And it tastes, if you bring this somewhere and don't say anything about it, then except to let people know if there's allergies, you always have to let people know. Nuts. People are surprised. They're, especially the people that don't eat plant-based, a lot of times, they're the ones that will be shocked. They'll say, "Oh, are you kidding? There's no butter in this? There's no cream in this? How did you make it?" And they'll be just shocked. I'm just pushing the sides up a little bit to make it look better. So I'm just taking the spoon and I'm just kind of pushing it up toward the side so that it looks like it has a nice little edge. And then I'll kind of straighten out the bottom after I'm done with the sides, because the sides, you have to make sure they look good. And then I'm just kind of putting my hand over the edge to make it look flat. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is one of those desserts that's kind of rustic. It's just a simple thing. I don't want to make any fancy desserts anymore because they're too time consuming. I don't want to spend my time fussing over desserts. I tend to make simple things, plant-based cookies. I do have a good recipe for carrot cake. Would anybody like me to see me make my carrot cake recipe sometime? Let me know if you do. I see Tracy's on, Shirley Ann. Can you guys hear me okay? Haven't seen any complaints, but just want to make sure. Okay, so I've got the crust. You see it's all on there nice and even. It doesn't look perfect around the edges, but that's not the point. We're not after some kind of perfection we could never attain. Now we're going to make the filling. And while we're doing that, I'm going to get my chocolate melting. So what I have here is I have a bowl of water, a pan of water, and I'm going to turn it on the heat. And the water is going to simmer. And while the water's simmering, my chocolate is going to be on top of it. So I'm going to try to melt my chocolate over the simmering water. And the reason for that is because I don't want my chocolate to get scorched. I don't want it to get overheated. Let's see. Carrot cake, please. Okay, I know you can hear me now because you heard that. So this is just a quick, not super quick way, but it's a way to melt chocolate without using the microwave, without burning your chocolate. You put it over simmering water. And that's what I'm doing. And what chocolate am I using? I'm using the El Rey chocolate. And I think I've talked about this on other videos, but there's a company called El Rey from Venezuela. And in the United States, it's sold in some gourmet grocery stores. But there's also an El Rey chocolate store in Stonewall, Texas. It's called Chocolates El Rey. And I order these online a lot of times. They ship them. Especially winter is a good time to get them. And they do have a shipping fee because they do put them in an insulated, cooler kind of container. But I get like larger quantities of them, like 3-pound bags of a couple different kinds, because I put them in the freezer. And then whenever I want to make something with chocolate, I've got the high quality chocolate. And their chocolate is naturally vegan. It's not a vegan company. I'm getting a paper towel. It's not a vegan company, but their dark chocolates are all vegan. And they're made with minimal ingredients. They're just a high quality chocolate and they taste really good. This is a 70%. I have the highest percentage that I have that I think they make is 73.5%. And I usually get that one too. But this one was a new one they came out with. It's called Sur del Lago dark chocolate. And it's not bitter at all. So that's another thing. There are lots of chocolates on the market, lots of dark chocolates, vegan dark chocolates. And I see Tori has joined too, or Tony. So there are a lot of brands of dark chocolate. You know this. You can go to any grocery store now and find tons of vegan dark chocolate. So get whatever kind you want. You don't have to order it online like I do, or I've even been to the store, the Chocolates El Rey store, and I've ordered so much of their chocolates that they have my picture on the wall. And because they've seen my YouTube videos and stuff. So it's not melting yet. It's going to get there. But while it's melting, we'll do the other part. So what is in this chocolate mousse pie that makes it, mousse? So we have to put something in it. And since we're not using eggs, butter, and cream, our secret ingredient is silken tofu. And the silken tofu is the kind that's shelf stable. And this is called firm. It's silken tofu, but it's firm. So it's not like the cold tofu that you buy in the refrigerated section of the grocery store. So just be aware that it is the shelf stable type. You can order this online since it's shelf stable. A lot of times you can get it. You don't have to go to a grocery store. And I'm going to make sure I drain it just in case it's got a little extra fluid in it, which I'm sure it does. So you don't want that excess fluid in your dessert. So look, it's got some kind of water in it. So I always drain it. And remember, it's just the blue box firm tofu, but it's silken. Carries on. And then look at all the liquid that came out of it. There's, maybe 2 tablespoons of liquid that drained out of it. And I don't want that in my filling. I just don't need it. So then I'm going to put what's left after the water drain in my handy dandy Beast blender. And this is in my Amazon store. If you ever anything I make, just go to Chef Julia's Amazon store. Just Google that. That's the quickest way to get to my Amazon store. And when you get to my Amazon store, there are all these idea lists. They're categorized according to the classes I've taught usually. There's Japanese and sourdough bread and anything that I've taught. See, the chocolate's starting to melt now. You can kind of, it's gone from just being the solid disc to being melted. So that's great. I don't have it turned up super high. Get a pot holder. I don't have it turned up super high, but I have it turned up high enough that it's melting pretty well. So, that's important. We want to melt this, but we don't want to overdo it. We don't want it to start boiling and seizing up. So as soon as it looks like most of the chocolate's melted, I'm going to turn it off. In fact, I'm going to turn it off right now because the bowl is still going to be hot. So let me show you. I turned it off when there were still little chunks of chocolate in there because I know those chunks of chocolate, if I just leave it here with the heat turned off, those are going to melt just fine. And in fact, I may even take it off this hot bowl because it doesn't really need it anymore. And I'll put that in my sink so that I don't get a steam bath. And I'm going to set that chocolate over to the side because I want it to cool off a little bit. I don't really want to have super hot chocolate going into my mousse mixture. Okay, so I have the tofu. Remember, this is a super simple recipe. It's got the silken tofu. It has a half a cup of plant milk, any kind you like. I'm using unsweetened almond milk because that's what I have. I usually have original almond milk, but today I happen to have this unsweetened one, and it works good too. Because we are going to add a little sweetness in the form of maple syrup, 4th cup. Because, the dark chocolate's not very sweet. So we're going to just sweeten it up a little bit with the maple syrup. And so right now, I'm going to blend this until it's smooth in this Beast blender. And what's good about the Beast blender is it's good for small quantities. Okay? This is a small quantity. I don't really want to use my giant, here's my giant Vitamix blender for this much stuff because it's hard to get it nice and smooth. And that's why they make these smaller blenders because they're good for small quantities. So this is just going to take a minute. You're just going to have to bear with me. Finally, that's not that long, but it feels like forever when you're standing in front of the camera. Terry, whoops, got the wrong plug here. Terry Malnar said she loves the Beast blender. It looks like Chef Martin Oswald is on. Okay, if you don't subscribe to Chef Martin Oswald, be sure to subscribe to him because he also does a lot of plant-based recipes. I don't know if he's 100% plant-based, but I noticed his recipes all tend to be along the lines of Dr. Greger, Dr. McDougall, and all the plant-based people. And he was a celebrity chef to a lot of famous people for many years. He had a restaurant in Aspen, and he has traveled all over the world, and he lives in Austria now. And I follow him and look at all of his posts. He has the most beautiful recipes, and he always includes the nutritional value and the positive benefits of whatever he's made. So, in fact, I have one of his recipes today. I have his cashew whipped cream that we're going to put on top of the pie. So, anyway, I've learned a lot from him. And he does a lot of live streams too. So I'm going to so anyway, Chef Martin Oswald, be sure and subscribe to his Substack. I think you'll get a lot out of his posts. And he's also a very nice person. I've found out that he is very generous and positive. And those are the kind of people I like meeting on Substack. So with the Beast Blender, it blended up my tofu, the silken tofu, and the plant milk and the maple syrup. And that's the start of my chocolate mousse pie. And I'm using this tool that you get for the Beast Blender. And how that works is it scrapes it out because you could see the Beast Blender has little ridges. And if you don't have this particular tool, then you can end up leaving behind a lot of the stuff that you work so hard to get in here. And the bottom too, make sure you get the stuff out of the bottom. Anyway, I don't like to waste it. So I want to make sure and use that tool and get every last bit out of my Beast Blender. So now we have our chocolate that I took off the boiling water, the simmering water, and I left it here to finish melting, and it melted very nicely. And I'm going to mix my 1 cup of dark chocolate, the El Rey Venezuelan dark chocolate, in with my tofu mixture, tofu, plant milk, maple syrup mixture. So this is a super simple recipe because it doesn't have very many ingredients. But something about this combination of ingredients works together really well. I'm trying to scrape every last bit of this chocolate out. This kind of El Rey Venezuelan chocolate is not cheap. It's kind of expensive, so I don't like to waste it. Using a really good chocolate is important because the taste. If you use a poor, the cheapest chocolate you can find at the grocery store, it's not going to be as good. So quality does go a long way. So now I just have to blend this together, and I'm doing it in my bowl. Some people in the recipes, they'll say, add the chocolate to the food processor and blend it, but that's not necessary. The chocolate's melted. The other ingredients are super smooth, so we just need to mix it together and make sure it all comes together. And it'll look really light. It will look like a milk chocolate thing because of the tofu and the plant milk, but it is a dark chocolate flavor. And so you see in just that short a period of time, our chocolate has come together, and it's a nice, smooth, velvety looking chocolate. Remember, we melted the chocolate in a pan over simmering water in a bowl on top of a pan of simmering water on kind of medium heat. Looks like Pam joined, Susie, Terry, she was on there before. Okay, so now I have the filling done. Wet my hand off, got chocolate on it. And I see the dogs are coming in. They probably smelled the food. And then I have my crust. Remember, the crust is nothing more than pecans that I put in the food processor until they were crumbs, and I added 2 tablespoons of maple syrup to make it stick together. And that's the crust. Super easy. Hello, Yuki. So if you see behind me, this is Yuki. He says, Mom's making food, so I got to come watch her. And then we can put our filling inside the crust. And that will be good. And we have to chill this at least 1 hour before we can cut into it. Just an hour. And I would taste it if I didn't already know that it tasted really good. I've had it before and it tastes amazing. And then I'm just going to smooth this around a little bit, just so it's all even. And now you don't have to do anything more to this than what I've already done. You could just leave it like this and chill it for an hour, and then you have this delicious chocolate mousse pie. But I like to change it up a little bit, like dress it up a little bit. So I have these beautiful organic strawberries that I got at the store the other day. And, it's not strawberry season, obviously. It's wintertime. So it's not a seasonal thing, but they're such good strawberries. I bought a box, and I've been enjoying them immensely. So I'm just going to take a few, and I'm going to arrange them around the edge. I'm going to cut the stems off. And then I'm also going to add some blueberries, because we all know that berries are wonderful for you. They're full of antioxidants. So, we want to have a lot of berries. I follow the Daily Dozen by Dr. Michael Greger. And a half cup of berries a day is one of those, daily dozen have to foods. So I always have a lot of berries around. I use them in my daily oatmeal bowl. I use them as snacks, just anytime I can eat more berries. So I'm just going to decorate the edge. I'm going to cut the berries in quarters. They're huge. So there's a lot. They're a lot bigger than your regular berry. So I'm going to I'm just going to arrange them around the edge of my pie here, just quarters, because they're so big. If you have smaller berries, you don't need to make them as big as this. And remember, they don't have to be perfect. My style now is I used to sweat over all these kind of things. Like I had to make, those of you who've taken my classes over the years know that I've made all kinds of fancy things and sweated over how everything looks and spent way too much time on it. No more. I'm, 71 years old, and I don't want to spend all my time fussing over food. I want it to taste good. I want it to look good, but it doesn't have to be some kind of perfection. It just has to look good and not, it has to look like something I don't mind bringing somewhere. I don't want to bring something that's ugly, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think we can get caught up in that sometimes, that we don't want anything that isn't perfect. So my strawberries just look like this. They're not, in fact, there's one that looks a little triangular, like rectangular. And I'm going to take that one out because it does look a little odd. And I'm going to replace it with one that has a better shape. So that's my only nod to perfection in this dish. That one did look a little strange. So I'm going to replace it with a nicer looking one. There, that's better. So they all look similar. So that's the strawberry part. Let's see, Tracy's on, Wendy's on, 22 people are on. That's amazing. That's great. I love it. And then the last thing is I'm going to put some blueberries on. And I did wash these blueberries earlier and drained them. So they are washed. I get kind of alarmed because I see people that buy these containers of berries and they just eat the fruit right out of the container. And I never do that. I always rinse them and dry them off a little bit just because they're not meant to be eaten right out of the container. It'll tell you on there, even if they're organic, to wash the fruit. Hi, honey, you want a blueberry? So be sure and wash your fruit. In fact, this is kind of dripping a little bit. You don't want it to be wet when you're putting it on your dessert here. I should have dried them a little bit better. But it's okay. All right. So you see, I'm just doing this, some blueberries and strawberries. Okay. Excuse me. I went walking this morning. It was really cold. And now I've got this little frog in my throat. Okay, there we go. So this is and we made this quick because I just came on at 11 and it's 11:24 and I hadn't really done anything ahead. Everything was done right in front of you. So in 24 minutes, I made this beautiful pie, chocolate mousse pie, decorated it with strawberries and blueberries. And it doesn't really need anything else. We could put, flakes of Malden sea salt on there, but that adds sodium, so I didn't do that. We could put pomegranate seeds around the edges. I'm sure there's other things we could do, but we don't need to. This is perfect, and it has the pecan crust. So when you cut into it, you get a piece that has a pecan crust that is nutty and has the maple syrup, so it's a little sweet. You have the rich chocolate flavor mousse, and then you have the fresh fruit on top. And I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator. You could see that it's already kind of jiggly. It's not loose. So in an hour, this would be ready. So let's say that you were going to take a dessert to a family dinner or something and you wanted something you could eat. Well, you could take this, put some saran wrap on it, and take it to your event, put it out. Nobody would question it. I always put if something has nuts in it or tofu, because, people can be allergic to stuff. Some people are allergic to tofu, soy. And some people are allergic to nuts, so it's good to let people know that your dish has nuts and soy in it because those are, common allergens. And that's it. You have a good dessert. So how many of you think you'll make this? Write in the comments if you think this is something you'll make. And I saw that a few of you said that you were interested in carrot cake. I make a really delicious plant-based carrot cake, and it even has a plant-based frosting made from almond-based cream cheese, I believe. So, and it's really good. It's one of those things that people can't get enough of. Wendy says definitely. Yeah, I can't imagine an easier dessert. And when someone brought this to my house for a dinner party, let's see, Terry says, I'm definitely going to make this for the holidays. Great, Terry. When someone brought this to my house, I wasn't expecting to like it that much. I thought, I'll be polite and I'll just take a little bit and put it on my plate. And I started eating it and I said, what is this? I need to know this. So I can't remember the name of the person who brought it, but she left me the recipe, the basic recipe for the chocolate mousse. And I don't even know if she left me the crust recipe. She may have. I don't remember that. But she did leave me the mousse recipe. And then I discovered it was a real common recipe that most people knew about anyway. I just never had tried it. The biggest thing for me was finding these little shelf-stable silken tofus, firm level, because that's not something I ever used. I always use the cold refrigerated tofu, so I never really used the shelf-stable one. So finding that, hey, Yuki, what you doing? You want to say hi? Finding that tofu was a little bit of a difference. He's curious about what I'm making today. He says, what are you making? It's not something you can eat. It's chocolate. Chocolate is not good for dogs. So and of course, Tori had to come and see too. So this was it for today. I'm not sure when I'm doing the next live, but I will keep you posted. Saturday it's supposed to be, but I'll let you know on Saturday what it's going to be. I'm not sure yet. So everybody, thanks for watching me make the chocolate mousse pie. And, just a reminder, my friend Chef Martin Oswald, who was joined earlier, be sure and check out his Substack and subscribe to it and find a lot of great recipes from him too. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.